Hey everyone, welcome. So today we are diving into something that is, I'm not kidding, a total superpower. We're talking about the ability to see arguments for what they are, make way better decisions, and just get a clearer picture of the world. And to help us unpack all of this, I've got Bella here. Bella, so glad you could make it.
Happy to be here, Evan. And you're right. It's one of those things, once you start flexing that muscle, you really do start seeing its power in, well, pretty much everything.
All right, let's just start right here, because I think we've all been there. You know that feeling, you're in an argument, you know you're right, you've got your points lined up, and then somehow it just falls apart. Or it gets twisted and you're just standing there thinking, wait, how did we even get here? What just happened?
Oh, absolutely. It's a super frustrating experience. And almost always it's because the conversation got knocked off the rails by something that isn't logic.
That's the perfect entry point for critical thinking. It's your toolkit for getting things back on track.
Okay, so let's get a good definition on the table. Because when I hear critical thinking, my brain kind of jumps to, being critical. Just being negative or poking holes in everything. Is that what we mean here?
That's a great question, and it's probably the biggest misconception we need to clear up first. It's not about being a critic or, tearing people down. It's actually the opposite. It's a constructive thing. It's really just about hitting the pause button and looking at an idea, your own idea, someone else's idea, from all sides to figure out what's really going on.
Okay, I love that. A tool for building, not a weapon for destroying. So let's get practical. Let's talk about those frustrating arguments. There are always these little phrases people drop that just stop the conversation cold, right?
Exactly. You'll hear them called thought-terminating cliches, which is a perfect name for them. They sound really wise on the surface, but what they're actually doing is shutting down the thinking process.
Okay, let's take a big one. You'll hear someone say something like, existence is reasonable. Or the more common version, hey, it is what it is. It sounds so profound, like you can't argue with it. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, that's a sneaky one. The trap is that it sounds deep because it's mixing up two totally different ideas. It's a bit of a magic trick with words.
So here's the breakdown. Everything that exists, sure, it has a reason for existing. There's a cause. But that has nothing to do with whether it has a right to exist or if it's a good thing. Think about it like this. A hurricane exists for very clear meteorological reasons, but that doesn't mean it's reasonable or that we shouldn't try to protect people from it. That cliché wants you to mix up why it happened with it's okay that it happened.
Okay, that makes so much sense. So here's another one that just, it gets under my skin. You're making a great point, you've got all your facts, and someone just hits you with, well, nothing's 100% absolute. It's like, what are you supposed to say to that? It's a total shutdown.
It's the ultimate conversation ender, for sure. But the funny thing is, it's a perfect little trap that catches itself. The second they say nothing is 100% absolute, you can just ask, are you 100% absolute about that?
Ooh, I love that. It just eats itself.
It really does. It's a paradox.
And besides that little logic puzzle, I mean, come on, the world is full of absolutes. Is Isaac Newton alive? No, that's an absolute. Did Einstein write the theory of general relativity? Yes, absolute. Any fact about something that already happened is an absolute. That line is just a lazy way to dodge a good point. Wow. Once you see the trick, you can't unsee it. This whole process, though, of systematically poking at ideas, it feels like a real discipline. So who does this best? Who are the black belts of critical thinking?
Hands down, scientists. I mean, the entire scientific method is basically critical thinking turned into a professional career. It's what they do all day.
Yeah, think about their whole process. It's built on questioning assumptions, especially your own. They are trained to look for the one piece of evidence that wrecks their whole theory. They're actively searching for the loopholes in their own work.
Wait, so they're basically trying to destroy their own arguments?
The really good ones are, because they get that an idea is only worth anything if it survives every possible attempt to kill it. It shifts the goal from I want to be right to I want to find out what's true. Okay, that scientist mindset sounds like a lot of work, which of course makes me look for a shortcut. What about Occam's razor? I hear that all the time. The simplest explanation is probably the right one. Can't we just do that?
Ah, yes, Occam's razor. Probably one of the most quoted and most misused mental models out there. It's a great example of a tool that people use for the wrong job.
So what it actually says is something like, don't add extra things to an explanation if you don't need them. It was about physical objects, physical forces. Like, if one force can explain gravity, you don't need to invent 5. The problem is people try to apply it to things it was never meant for, like saying we shouldn't learn a complex skill like critical thinking because a simple mental habit is better. That's not what it means at all. And here's the other big piece of the puzzle. It's not a scientific law. It's a rule of thumb from like 700 years ago. It's a helpful suggestion, but you can't use it as the final word. Sometimes the more complicated answer is just the right answer.
Okay, so it's not the ultimate I win card in an argument.
Not even close. It's a useful starting point, but it's not the finish line. That really reframes it for me. So, okay, if we're agreeing there are no easy shortcuts, and this is something we actually have to practice, what's the real payoff? Like, why should we bother doing this hard work every day? For me, it boils down to one core benefit: intellectual self-defense. It's basically a shield for your brain. It protects you from being manipulated, not just by other people, but by your own emotions too.
Here, let me give you a concrete example. Read this sentence. It's super vague, but look at the words: challenges, missed, bravely, giving up. It's designed to trigger an emotional response.
Oh, totally. My brain immediately goes into overdrive trying to figure out what it's about. I'm already thinking about like 3 different things in my own life where I feel like I'm failing. It hooks you right in.
And that's exactly what it's designed to do. That's the emotional reaction. You get pulled into the feeling, and your brain scrambles to fill in the gaps with its own anxieties. But the critical thinking reaction is totally different. The first thing that pops into that person's head is, hold on, what specifically are we talking about here? They spot that there's no real information, just emotion, and they hit the brakes.
And that is the payoff, right there, in that moment. That little pause, that simple question, what are the facts? That's your shield. It creates this crucial bit of space between the emotional hook and your response. It lets you operate on what's real, not just on what a vague sentence is trying to make you feel. It's like putting a buffer between you and the world. It gives you the power to choose how to react.
This is huge. It really shifts the whole idea from winning arguments to just living with your eyes open, with more clarity. So I guess the challenge for all of us is to start putting this into practice, to catch ourselves when we hear something that sounds true or feels true, and just take a second to ask, is it? Bella, this was amazing. Thank you so much for breaking this all down.
It was my pleasure. It all starts with that one simple question.